Christmas shopping. That time of year where we spend our life savings placing gifts under trees and stockings, stocking up on things we perceive as valuable. You see, it's not so much the label, but the price we are willing and able to pay for merchandise that determines its value. For example, what I might see as a cheap piece of junk from the thrift store, you might see as a priceless antique you are willing to drop 20 grand for. And it got me thinking, what if God was the customer and this world was his thrift store, and it's over 7 billion people with the items on the shelf, us? Imperfect, broken, and messed up things standing before a perfect and holy God who is totally complete and has no real need for us. What would he see and what would he be willing to pay for us? I mean, it couldn't be much, right? Yet God would look down from heaven on sinful beings, and seeing our desperate need to be redeemed, he would be so moved with pity that he would willingly leave heaven to suffer and bleed for us, send his sinless son to pay the price to satisfy divine justice and offer forgiveness and life, all for seemingly worthless thrift store junk like us, not because he needs us, but because he wants us. This is Christmas shopping meets the gospel. That the same God who numbers the hairs on my head stood in my stead and bled for me, instead of me, met me at the crossroads of justice and mercy and said, come to me, my weary and heavy laden child, come and find rest in me. You see, the world might say you are no more than your past mistakes, no more than your habits, your addictions, your money, your race. The world will say you are worthless, a life without purpose, an unwanted number whose life doesn't matter, but the one who made worlds without number says that he wants you, calls you by name, makes you his own. I hope you know that you matter to him. In spite of your sin, he sees you as his fearfully and wonderfully made workmanship, created with purpose to love, serve, and worship the workman who made you. And yes, you're unworthy, but you are not worthless. The one who has purchased you thinks you're to die for. You see, you're either a product of your past or a product of his present, the free gift of grace and his indwelling presence. He presents us Emmanuel, God with us, the God who remembers our every tear and forgets our every sin. The moment we authentically turn to him, he never forgets us. We've been carved into his hands with nails as a permanent reminder of his love for us. He sees us through the rose-colored glasses of Jesus' blood and sees a chosen people, a royal priesthood, his beloved sons and daughters in whom he is well pleased. We are a mess indeed, but we are his mess, and that makes us valuable, because our worth is not determined by the things we've done or do or fail to do. Our value is determined by the God we belong to. We are co-heirs with Christ, and that makes us valuable. He takes who the world calls trash and makes them his treasures. He takes those who are humble enough to know they don't measure up, and it's his good pleasure to save, change, and ordain them as royalty to reign with him forever by repentance and faith. So evaluate yourself. Are you valuing him? Sticking to him like glue, clinging to him the way you would to a parachute if you knew you were falling, because the truth is, we're fallen. The truth is, we have nothing but our sin to offer, no goodness within ourselves with which to barter with God, but he offers us this free gift of life without money or price for all who would turn from their sin and give their lives to Christ, who gave his life for us like a Christmas present, wrapped in grace and mercy, hanging on the tree. For God so loved people like you and me that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes shall not perish but have everlasting life. So step off of the world's thrift store shelf into the arms of Christ, because the value of your life is not determined by your label, but by the God who is willing and able to pay the purchase price. This is Christmas shopping meets the gospel. You are wonderfully made and wonderfully paid for.